Hi, everybody. I hope you guys are having an amazing week and I hope you had a great day. Thank you so much for joining me today. So, one of the things that I want to talk about today that's really incredibly important, that's been coming up a lot in my healing sessions and also just in general, is something to do with our understanding of the illusion of separation and how that really runs deep in the way that we see the world, but more importantly, the way that we see ourselves when it comes to healing and integration. Yesterday, we had an incredibly empowering full moon. It was a pink full moon, and the pink full moon is really about that deep integration. Healing the body and actually applying all of the things that we've learned up until now and integrating all of those things so that we can birth a new world, a new beginning, a new self is what we're talking about here. And that's been the theme for this month, for this time that we're all going through collectively. It's birthing the new self. So in that journey, there's a lot of work that has to be done. And one of the things that happens when we're healing ourselves is that a lot of old stuff comes up. And some of you have been writing me a lot about memories, feelings, and emotions that have really been coming up over the past couple weeks. Things that you thought were done with, they are resurfacing again now. And it's really a really incredible invitation to kind of work with that kind of heavy stuff. So how do we work with it? There's a problem. We see the blockage and then we get stuck. We don't really know how to transform, how to move past these blockages that keep resurfacing over and over again. So the only way to really heal these programs is by going back to the root cause of when these programs began. And for most of us, that's going to be in childhood. And of course, because these perceptions of our reality are being created by our mother, by our father, how they behaved, how they played out the roles of the divine feminine, of the divine masculine, of themselves. And we absorb all of those emotions, all of those things that they're feeling, even the subconscious thoughts of how they feel about each other and life in general, we are silently absorbing as children. And so that results after growing up, going through your own life, making up your own choices, learning, understanding your own experiences in yourself through those experiences, you end up with your own perception of life. The problem is that when we have blockages that are stuck within the body, these are programs, thought programs that keep surfacing over and over again, we get stuck. And so how do we heal them? There has to be a reconnection back to the root of that. And when you get to the root of that, you open up experiences. So when you go back to childhood memory and you begin to realize where the origin of these programs began, you're going to begin to unpack a lot of information. And a lot of this information will take you down a revisit of your belief systems, of how you believe your emotions should be, why we have the emotions that we have, why we react the way that we do, and why we have the perceptions that we have about ourselves and the world that we live in. And when you take that route and go even deeper down that rabbit hole, there is an incredible opening of information that will take you back to the programs of not even just your parents, but society and culture, religion, the roles that those things have played in our life, the role that religion and culture have played in your upbringing, in your belief systems, because inevitably this is the kind of unpacking that we need to do as individuals in order to understand ourselves and the world that we live in. And now that we have some quiet time and some time to really take a moment to reconnect with ourselves, it's a wonderful opportunity to take that journey into understanding these things. Now, one of the things that will come up as you start to unpack these programs from society, cultural, religion, all of these major programs that are implemented into society over centuries of indoctrination, centuries of belief systems, you begin to look at one of the main programs that we seem to share is that very powerful illusion of separation that we share. Okay. And this is one of the things that it always comes back to. We recognize and we realize that by looking at these concepts of why we react the way we do, sometimes we have certain responses to things in our lives. Sometimes we behave as a mother, for example, towards our children. We have a certain rejection, and over time, this is an example, over time, after we begin to unpack that rejection that we have towards our children, we begin to realize the rejection is not even really towards the child, it's towards ourselves, the choices that we made in life, all of the things that we've been dealing with in our life. So it begins to open pretty messy and deep information. And sometimes it's really hard to get into the root of those things. So please have patience with yourself when you're going down these kinds of journeys of understanding. So there's so much information there that needs to be unpacked, because as you begin to look at yourself, you look and you recognize that the triggers in your life are actually mirrors of suppressed emotion within you. Okay, they're mirrors that are triggering really these kinds of suppression of belief systems that have never been expressed. And so that's what causes the repetitive pattern, the repetitive experiences of trauma and pain are the suppression really of those root emotions. So as you begin to go back to these original moments of memories, for example, that mother, your mother perhaps was more rejecting towards you, didn't give you the love, the nurture, the care that you needed. And so there is defined in that experience what the divine feminine will look like, what the divine masculine would look like, and it's going to create a self-identity based on what you've learned during that time growing up. So here's what happens. As we dive deeper into these programs, we begin to question, okay, well, what's real? What's real from those ideals? Is it true that I was unloved as a child? Is it true that my mother hated me or rejected me or behaved in this way? And so when you're doing your personal work, begin to question. The question will always be, is it true? And as you begin to unpack those memories, you're going to be faced with more questions, more openings for you to dive deeper into the root cause of those emotions. Okay, so when you get there, it becomes very clear pretty quickly that what we're dealing with is this constant idea that happens in our entire human race is the illusion of separation, the thought that we are all separate from one another somehow, that we are different, that we are isolated, that we are abandoned. And this is a collective trauma that we share as a human race. Okay, it's a collective trauma. So all of us are experiencing this trauma of separation in one way or another. And our environment, the world that we live in, the way that society is set up, is in such a way in which everything is compartmentalized, and it enforces further and further that illusion of separation. And this is the design of the matrix that we live in. It is the design of our environments, and everything is compartmentalized in such a way that the human ends up feeling completely isolated, not just separated from themselves and how they really feel the world should be run or operated, but it's such a deep disconnect with ourselves. And everything in life is kind of triggering and making us feel that we are wrong for wanting to reconnect with ourselves, or to even listen to the intuitive voice that tells us that the way that things are being told to us, educated us in certain ways, even our historical timeline is being put in a certain way, that we're not understanding where there is a connection, that unity consciousness is completely missing from the way that we see the world. And so this collective trauma that we're experiencing as a whole needs to come to a certain point of origin, okay? And the point of origin is really the very beginning of life on this planet. The design of this entire dimension that we're in, because it's the physical dimension. There are the self, the identity, and there's everything outside of it, okay? And so everything that we're experiencing in the world around us feels like it's something separate. But as you begin to realize that what we're experiencing here as a collective, let's say as frequency, each one of you is a unique frequency. It's a vibrational frequency, which is a part of a whole. When you come into this physical plane, into the dimension, there is a fragmentation, a very deep fragmentation that happens even before you take a body, even before you come into this physical manifestation. So you got to see that the concept of separation is something that runs extremely deep as we enter this three-dimensional plane. When you are in the womb, there is a feeling of separation already. There is a knowing, an acknowledgement that we are separate from something, or we're coming into this very heavy physical feeling, this physical experience that is new to us. As we're coming incarnating into the physical body. So just right there, from the womb, we begin to feel the separation in a very heavy way. We go in through the birth channel and we experience yet again a very violent expression of this separation as we are pulled away from our mother, or the womb in which we were gestating for some time, where we became familiar for a moment, we became comfortable. But even in that womb, we begin to feel vibrations and emotions from our mother, and some of those emotions are very heavy. There is a disconnect. We're not familiar with those heavy emotions. So there again, we are experiencing this separation, this fragmentation between what we feel is a natural expression of ourselves, and what we're experiencing in the physical plane. So then you come out into life and you begin to have your experiences, and depending how your childhood was or your experiences, you're very heavily experiencing the constant separation, compartmentalization, the way the mother should behave, the father should behave, your siblings, the role that you play in your family. And little by little, we are programmed emotionally, physically, vibrationally, in every way to believe that we are heavily compartmentalized and separate from everything around us, okay? So this in itself is a very deep trauma, a very deep trauma that we have to take some time as a human, our entire lives, to come and at some point return back to integration. That's why the concept of integration can be very foreign to a lot of us, because until you understand this physical plane and how it operates, how the architecture of this entire matrix is functioning, it's going to be hard for us to understand that returning to our whole self, coming back to that integration, is going to be a natural aspect of this human expression at some point in your life. And healing is that. Healing means coming back to wholeness, okay? So as we experience this compartmentalized reality, what we're feeling through the body, even the body is also compartmentalizing information frequency within the chakra system. The emotions that we're expressing have a certain organized manner. The triggers that we are feeling in the body are programmed within the body, and we are reacting to those experiences in a certain way that was learned through our experience. Okay, so you got to understand there's many levels to this understanding of compartmentalization. So what happens? When we're doing healing, how do we go back to that state of wholeness? First of all, we have to unpack all of these belief systems that we're separate, and we come back to a realization that within us, when we begin to meditate, when we begin to connect with ourselves, we recognize that all the answers that we need are really within us, okay? And we begin to become aware of that by recognizing that our perception is the definition of how we're going to experience life. It basically defines how we see the world, how we're going to experience it, how we're going to see it. And sooner or later, you begin to recognize that you have all the power. You have all the power to define and create and manifest your life, how you experience it. To get to this understanding, we have to go back to that root. And when you get to that root of opening those experiences, you are met with yourself, your emotions, your perception, and the events that happened around you and the people that play the roles of those events. And so from that perspective, as you are feeling your emotions, one of the things that we need to identify is what caused our perception. What caused your perception in that experience? Okay, what are the emotions that come up? Why do those emotions come up? And how they are connected to your idea of how you should react to events. Now, the people that are involved in this event are going to be the vibrational connection, the contractual agreement that has been made to experience this learning, this understanding within the physical. Every single person in your life that you experienced trauma with, that made you feel, somehow disconnected from yourself, that caused pain, suffering, fear, every single person that we experience it with, we have a contractual agreement. What's a contractual agreement? It's a similar vibrational frequency. Okay, we share a vibrational frequency with that person, and they mirror that program. So what that means is that that's why we were united in those experiences, in order to experience it on this physical plane. So in the physical plane, they trigger us, or they do something that makes us feel a certain way, and it then develops into this program that is produced as a result of that experience. So from that perspective, what has to happen is we need to understand the roles that they're playing are creating these programs, okay? So how do we heal from that? As we become aware of the program and the trigger that's being created, there has to be a healing. And this healing is created, it is an opportunity for healing by beginning to first acknowledge what is the mirror, what is the vibrational frequency that made you a match to this experience, even at the young age of 5 to 3 years old. What is the lesson? Because what you're going to realize is that in the womb, you've already became aware, and in the womb is when these first lessons begin to develop vibrationally. They are an emotional experience that we have. Sometimes there's a resistance to that emotion that our mother has, that we feel from the father within the womb, and we begin to, as we are born, we pull that information into us it designs our perception for how we're going to be feeling and experiencing things. So that being said, our gateway to healing commences with our father and our mother, okay? So we got this far. What do we do next? We work with this incredible information that we have. Take this emotion, whatever that experience was, you're going to go back to that emotion, and you're going to trace that emotion to your mother and your father, how they produced that emotion within you. Now, what do? What you're going to recognize is that this emotion, this program that they put out as a trigger, is something that they themselves, mother and father, either or, have been cycling through ancestrally. Okay, so what happens in the trauma, in that moment of trauma, is a cord, and the energetic cord is that vibrational frequency that's a match that's created. So this cord is an extension of this ancestral cyclical information that now comes and is surfacing from your own DNA, from your own expression, because you are a product of all of these ancestral, information. And so this is an opportunity for you to heal this programming. So when you're in meditation and you're working, you're going to see this cord that connects you to your parents. And what you'll notice is that this cord extends all the way back through your entire ancestral lineage, going all the way back to its origin. Where is the origin? The origin is the very beginning of that ancestral lineage. And in meditation, in healing, you have the opportunity, the invitation is for you to identify where is the origin of these contractual agreements, okay? And what you'll notice is that a lot of these programs, it's not that you have to go through every single one of your traumatic experiences in your life. You're going to notice, and you're going to begin to note that there is a pattern, okay? And really, it really comes down to the same thing every time. It might have at face value and a traumatic experience that made you feel helpless, or one that made you feel angry. But when you begin to dive into those experiences, it's always going to be the same program that triggered these different emotional expressions. So this is the beauty and the incredible intelligence of the human body in healing. When we're aware of that, the work becomes, more directed, more focused, okay? So as you begin to come into these origin points, you're going to notice that there is a cord that looks like the root of a tree, or it could look at whatever it looks like to you. But these roots are holographic cords that connect us to different points on this planet. And we are connected through our ancestral lineage all the way back to these points on the planet, okay? Because our origin during these terrestrial programs, or the belief system that we're a part of this matrix, we've incarnated here many times, is tied energetically to this physical plane. Within the earth, within the layers of the earth, there lies also another network of energy, network of information, which is in the same way mirroring the information that we hold within our DNA. Because some of us, we have fragments, they're just, by the way, the limited expressions of the fragments of ourselves in this physical timeline, okay? We have many fragments of ourselves. Some of us have even manifested on other planets. Some of us have been extraterrestrials at some point. It doesn't really matter the manifestation that you came out to be. What matters is how we can reintegrate from those fragments into the whole of this infinite consciousness that we are during this limited timeline from birth up until the death. Okay, so we have this limited time that we have to be able to move through into awareness, into integration, into wholeness. And so all of these life experiences are that. The opportunity to come back to wholeness. That's all, okay? So the first illusion of separation comes when we believe that we are by ourselves, battling these emotional battles by ourselves. In reality, we are just the most recent manifestation of a very long lineage of consciousness. And we are so interconnected, me and you right here, every single one of you. Some of you are in some other parts of the world right now, but we are all connected. Just 2,000 years ago, we have a relative in common. So there is an origin point for the race, the entire human race in this dimensional timeline. So that means that the work that we do here allows us an opportunity to begin to unpack and deprogram all of the aspects of ourselves that are suffering, that are separate from ourselves. One of the ways that the matrix really utilizes and manipulates our ability to come back to wholeness is by pushing the idea that we are heavily separate, that we are compartmentalized, that we are disconnected, not just from one another, but from ourselves. And a lot of the technology that is in the world around us, from music to television to, even the whole concept of having to be in constant survival mode, working and surviving to feed, to put food on the table, to pay our bills, to have a home to live in. All of these are programs of compartmentalization that are implemented into our society to keep us as far away from connecting to the self. And this is a natural expression of the three-dimensional plane. It's the physical plane, which means we have to feel things. There is a certain aspect of your soul that has chosen to come into this physical plane to experience that. But the problem is that if you're incarnating in this physical plane over and over for centuries and centuries and centuries, trying to learn the same lesson of unity, of consciousness, of integration, there's something that's happening there, and it's the lack of awareness. So our awareness, our conscious awareness, in a sense, is put to sleep, hijacked, right? And it's, it's really our fault. We need to become aware. We have the opportunity, if we choose to apply that free will, to become aware during this limited lifetime that we're living in. So the invitation really is to begin to notice where we are not utilizing that awareness, where we reject consciousness, where are we rejecting our understanding of ourselves as one whole. And as we enter that gateway of learning, that opportunity of integration, there's something that happens that's a very big blockage that I see time and time again in the healings. And one of those things is a very deep shame of ourselves, and a deep shame of even that ancestral lineage that connects us back to the roots. This is a program which is an illusion, okay? We believe the moment that we take them back to the father and the mother, and we take them back to the origin point of where they are rooted, there seems to be a lot of shame. Some of us don't even want to recognize our ancestors or our roots because we feel shame, whether it's shame of our origins, or what part of the world we came from, or the color of our skin, or culturally we feel a disconnect, or because of what's happened in those roots. Culturally, we don't want to connect back to those things. Now, it is important that we understand the overlays of separation that are created in our reality. And one of those overlays are the compartmentalization of races, of even languages, of skin color. You got to understand that all of that is a part of this illusion of separation that is designed to make us feel separate from one another. And collectively, we are working through the shame and the recognition of that shame during all of these things that are happening in our society. And it's very difficult for us to come into unity consciousness when we are still in the thought, in the mindset that we are separate somehow. But this becomes even deeper when we were faced with ourselves to do our inner work and we feel shame with our roots. Okay, and it's something that's really interesting, because as I'm taking clients back into the roots, sometimes there's a shame to acknowledge where they came from. There's a shame to acknowledge the countries that they rooted from. And so that shame is a tremendous blockage that's blocking you from coming into healing and integration. We have roots in our indigenous self, and it goes all the way back to Mesopotamia. I mean, the roots of ourselves go all the way back, and they're not really even from this planet. We are beyond that. We are in our DNA a cocktail of DNA, okay? There is a cocktail of different species and races within the body, okay? Within ourselves, holographically, we're storing fragments of ourselves that are not physical. They're also non-physical. So I want to make sure that at some point we recognize that, because what we're dealing with here is guiding the soul through a very temporary human experience, through a temporary illusion of separation. What really matters at the end of the day for humans is to learn how to come back to that integration. And we need to start dispelling and unpacking and deprogramming all of the programs that we've created to create separation in our minds. And they are programs that run extremely deep in the subconscious mind. So shame is one of the biggest blockages that we have. The shame that we have for ourselves, to be ourselves, to express ourselves, to express negative aspects of ourselves or yucky parts of ourselves. Anytime that we feel shame for ourselves or our race or our ancestral lineage, it creates an incredible disconnect between yourself and yourself. Okay, because all of these ancestral lineages are nothing more than mirrors of you. Mirrors of you. They are fragments of you. When you do ancestral work, you are looking at yourself in the mirror. And so when we have a disconnect with connecting to those roots, we're never going to be able to dispel that unity within our own self. We're never going to be able to see our own self in its purest form. Okay, so and even I notice even in when we talk about star families, it's so hilarious to me. There is even a disconnect between, oh, I want to be a part of these Arcturians or these Pleiadians or these angels. I don't want to be part of the reptilians or the draconians, you know. And it's very funny because what we need to recognize in everything, in our speech, in our expression, in our embodiment, is that we are in the three-dimensional plane, and the law of creation in this plane is this polarity that we need to start becoming accustomed to working, to expressing in every way, and accepting our own polarity on a very deep level. The only way to heal is to come back into that unity consciousness, okay? So today I want to run you through an exercise. We're going to be going back to our ancestral roots, and we're going to be healing and reintegrating the main cyclical program that you have been going through in your ancestral lineage. How are you going to identify that? It's in the emotion that you have today, the emotion that you're feeling of resistance today, the emotion that you've been blocking over the past week. It is in just that simple emotion that you've been feeling, that has been, that yucky emotion that comes up. This is where the beginning of this information is. So if you can trace that back to the last time you had it, to the first time, to its origin, this is the opening of working with your ancestors, and it's available to you at any moment, okay? Because true integration means that you are an embodiment of unconditional love. What is integration? What is wholeness? It is unconditional love, the acceptance of all things outside of you as a part of yourself. Please understand, if you are not embodying this expression, you can't have a high vibration. You can't be in a high vibration. You can't be in unity consciousness. So we need to begin to work with all of those little tiny silly thoughts that cause separation between us. And it's really the only way that when we come out of this mess that we're in as a collective self, all of the experiences that we're having and we're seeing in the world around us, this will be your guiding light. Unity consciousness is the next step. It is the future. It is what we need here and now. So we need to begin working with that. So I want you all to get really nice and comfortable, and we're going to begin. I want you to inhale deeply and exhale. You just ground yourself down to the center of the earth, becoming aware of yourself, becoming aware of your body. We're going to G-pack, grounding, protection, aligning, creating. Okay? So we're protecting, becoming aware of our energetic space. We're going to align our chakras. Starting with the root chakra, go ahead and close that chakra. Sacral, close that chakra. Solar plexus, close that chakra. The heart chakra, open that chakra. To access this information, to access the subconscious mind, we have to be in reading state. So you're going to disconnect from the physical plane, coming into your body, coming into that intuitive self. You're going to go into the throat. You're going to open that chakra. Going into the third eye, open that chakra. Very good. Inhale deeply and exhale. Very good. You're going to go up to your crown. You're going to fill it in with your creative color. Go ahead and see what color is that. It's the color that represents your highest vibrational expression. So go ahead and put that up in your crown. What is that color? You're aligning it with every aspect of your life, with career, abundance, health, consciousness, purpose, relationships. Very good. And this is going to be your tool to see beyond blockages of deception, beyond lies, any resistance. This is what your tool is, to be able to see truth. Okay? So we're going to go deeper. You're going to inhale deeply and exhale. I want you to visualize pulling up a powerful green energy up into the body, creating a vortex of energy. Pull that energy into the body, cleaning the body, preparing the body for healing. Okay. Breathing in. Very good. From the universe, you're going to pull down a powerful wave of gold energy that's going to come down. It's going to mix with that green energy. You're going to send 10% back down your grounding cord, eliminating anything that you're clearing out of the body. In order to access these dimensions of ourselves, these fragments of ourselves, we need to be able to properly clear out whatever we're clearing from the multidimensional body. So running energy is a powerful way to do that. Okay? You're going to go back to your solar plexus. You're going to pull up 80% up your spine from the crown of your head, creating a fountain. Visualize that fountain clearing outside any deception, any illusions that we have that are not in alignment with our expression. We just clear out of our multidimensional body. You're going to go back to your solar plexus. You're going to pull up that 10% up your spine, down your arms. Feel the inside of your body. Go ahead and feel that energy surrounding the body. Healing the body, penetrating into the pores, the flesh, the muscles, the bones, down to the cellular level. Breathing. Inhale deeply and exhale. Very good. As you run that energy through your body, you're going to feel that rush. And we're going to go deeper. So I want you to pick a blockage that you've been working with for some time now. Some of you, you've been doing some work. So go ahead and identify a blockage that you feel. A blockage is an emotional program or an emotion that you feel keeps coming up that doesn't let you come into your highest expression or what you want to see yourself as, what you want yourself to be. So go ahead and identify what blockage you want to work on. Okay. And I want you to identify what is the main feeling that comes up. What is the emotion that comes up? When you experience this blockage, what's the emotion? Go ahead and identify the emotion. Okay. Becoming aware of that emotion. Okay. And as you become aware of that emotion, I want you to notice where in your body you're holding on to that emotion, or where do you feel the most resistance or tension in the body when you feel the emotion. So go ahead and tap into your body. Where are you holding that emotion? Everything is energy. So we are identifying in the body where we hold on to that stagnant information. And as you feel that emotion, I want you to take yourself back now, recognizing this emotion. What other emotions come up as you feel it? I want you to be present with that emotion, okay? As you're present with that emotion, you begin to feel other emotions. So go ahead and identify what other emotions come up. Okay? And if you want to jot it down, you can write it down if you have somewhere, or you can just remember, just identify it in your body, okay? You identify that emotion. I want you to pick which one is the strongest one of those emotions. What's really coming up for you? Identify that emotion that's really coming up for you. Inhale deeply and exhale. Don't forget to breathe. Breathing so that we're not stuck in that emotion. We are observing the emotion at this time, okay? Okay. So now that you have identified that, I want you to see if that powerful emotion that you felt, I want you to see how familiar are you with that emotion, okay? Some of you are going to recognize that you didn't realize how familiar you were with it, but it's something that's around you all the time. Some of you are going to know that, yeah, I feel that all the time. That comes up for me a lot. It comes up for me in relationships and my work. So go ahead and notice, how familiar are you with that? The reason why you're so familiar with this is because this is the key to your healing. This emotion is what is the key to unlock the cyclical ancestral program that is running your life and defining the subconscious emotions that are creating your reality. So that's how powerful that is. So go ahead and take that emotion, and I want you to see if you can recognize the very first time in your life that you experienced this emotion. I want you to take yourself back to the very first time that you experienced that emotion. See how far you can go. Try to go as far back as you can, okay? So go back to, young adulthood, adolescence, childhood. And if you can't go that far yet, go back to a more recent time, and you can continue doing this till you get to the root, okay? Go ahead, take yourself back. Who was the person that first made you feel this emotion in your life? Notice that. Very good. So now that you've identified that, I want you to see yourself in that exchange. Take a look at yourself. Take a look at that person that is there, that you are. You're going to look at yourself. And I want you to begin to notice, what is this person feeling? Identify yourself and your emotions in that memory. What are you feeling? Why do you feel that way? Identify why you feel that way. So what's causing that emotion? Take a look at the person that is with you. What are they feeling? What's their emotion? What are they doing? Observe. Observe their emotion. Observe why they are behaving that way. And this is where you begin to tap into the information that is holographically imprinted in your body, okay? You're going to pick up pictures, you're going to pick up words, you're going to pick up, images of your past, images of that event. So go ahead and tap into that. What's happening with them? How come they are behaving this way? What's occurring? And I want you to begin to identify, what programming do you think they have that causes them to behave this way? What's their programming? What's their belief systems about love, about care, about nourishment? What are their belief systems behind the way that they're behaving that cause them to behave that way? Go ahead and notice that. Notice that. This is really important, guys. Very good. Begin to look at their upbringing. Begin to look at their origins. How was their role model? If you didn't know the person that well, just observe them and how they are behaving. And it's a good exercise to begin to understand why we react in the ways that we do. There's a certain development of emotions that happen as a result of belief systems. This is a way for you to begin to educate yourself and to learn how these emotions happen within us and outside of us, how we begin to observe others. So now that you've identified that, I want you to ask yourself, first of all, what is it that they need in order to not behave that way? What does that other person, just if you were able to provide them with everything that they needed in order to not feel that they need to behave in this way, what would they need? Just acknowledge that. Now refocus on yourself. What do you need in order to not feel that way? Take a look at that. What do you need from yourself? What does someone need? Take a look at that. Very good. So now that you've identified, you've learned some very important things about yourself and about this other person. I want you to shine your light on top of them, your mother and your father, and you're going to see a contract. This contract represents the cyclical pattern, which is going to be the lack of what both of you don't have. You've identified by doing this exercise the mirror. You are able to see how your lack of feelings, of emotions, are the same lack that they experience. So go ahead and see that contract there, and you're going to destroy that contract, because that contract is the vibrational match to this experience. If you don't address this original contract, every time that you go out and feel that experience, you're going to experience the same trigger. Okay, now this is going into the vibrational laws of exchange here. So go ahead and destroy that contract, and what you're going to notice is that you have a cord, this energetic cord that connects your body to this person. So I want you to observe that cord. I want you to identify where in your body you're holding on to that cord. That tells you what part of your body is affected most by this contractual agreement, by this trigger. Okay, so go ahead and identify where in your body you feel it, and you're going to see that cord going all the way back to their body, and you're going to trace that cord going all the way back to their origin. So go ahead and see, what is their origin? Where are they from originally? What country are they from? Okay, so as you identify the country that they're from, you're going to see a giant root. And I don't want you to just go to their immediate country. So maybe you're several generations in the US. You're going to go back to their origin, because none of us that are here in the US are from the US. We've migrated from other places. So go ahead and notice, where is the original? If you are an American Indian, for example, see your root and see where you came from, migrated before that. Okay, I want you to try to go as far back, and you're tapping into your intuition. Use your imagination to help guide you to visualize where your roots are. And you have to trust that. You have to trust that guidance. So go ahead and take that root back to its origin. And I want you to visualize, as if you're looking at the planet Earth, you're going to see the roots that connect you to this earth. You're going to uproot those roots completely. uproot them, and I want you to burn them. You're going to burn those roots. These roots represent the cyclical program of that lack, of that pain, of that suffering program, of that disconnect. So this is what you want to eliminate. Go ahead and visualize disconnecting and burning up that root program completely, okay? Because we no longer, now that we have been made aware of it, now that we are learning about it, we no longer want to continue cyclically cycling this for ourselves and for our ancestors. That's what we're here to do, is to clean that up. So go ahead and burn that up. And once you're done, you're going to see all of your ancestors in a crowd in front of you. Go ahead and see them in a crowd. All of your ancestors in a crowd. That's every single person that has played a role in this ancestral lineage is going to surface from all of these different countries. You're going to see a lot of people, okay? So go ahead and see them, and I want you to surround them in a golden sphere of light, and I want you to tell me, what do these people need in order to come into their highest expression? Take a look at that. What do they need? So this is the cyclical program. All of them have been battling this cyclical program that you're battling now. So what do they need? Identify that. Notice that. And I want you to visualize a color that represents that vibrational frequency of what they need. Okay? So identify it. And you're going to fill them up with that color. I want you to allow them to absorb that vibrational frequency. You can either do a color, or you can just give them what they need. Give them what they needed in order to come into their full expression. And you're going to see them merge into a white light. Okay? One white light. These are your fragments. The ancestors that you see before you here are your fragments. Okay? So this is you. These are aspects of yourself that you're healing. So as you see them disconnect from you, you're going to cut the cord on their end, and you're going to pull that cord out of your body. Pull the cord. Notice how it leaves the body, letting go of this program. And what you're going to feel in the physical plane is you're going to feel the parts of the body that were holding that tension are going to be releasing, really powerfully releasing. Okay? So let that go, heal that from the body. Inhale deeply, taking back your life force, and exhale, releasing. Very good. Very good. Very good. You're going to go back to your parent that you were working with. Okay. You're going to see a cord connecting you to them. Where on your body do you see that cord? You're going to cut that cord on there. And again, this cord represents this cyclical pattern, the pain program. We don't want that cord. So it's an example of an imbalanced exchange that has happened. The imbalanced exchange happened when you experienced that trauma in childhood with this person. So you're going to cut the cord on their end, and you're going to release it from your body. You want to inhale deeply, taking back your life force. We are constantly exchanging life force. So as we reintegrate to become whole, we always have to pick up our life force back and also return the life force that we have taken, that we have absorbed subconsciously into our body from them. So we need to return that back for them to experience their healing and their sovereignty and their free will. Okay? So we let them take back all of that back, and you're going to let them leave your space now. You're going to go back to this child that's healing in this space. Okay? And I want you to provide that child with everything that they needed in order to come into their highest expression. You're going to provide her with that love, everything that she didn't get from the parent, you're going to give them. Sorry, he or she. You're going to give them everything they needed. So take a moment to heal yourself. This is your fragment of your body. Right now, you are working on a quantum level to reintegrate the fragments of yourself. And it's really important because this is how we heal the physical body, the mind, the emotional imbalances that we have, and more importantly, we help resolve the triggers that are constantly running our lives. So heal that fragment of yourself, provide them everything that they needed, and you will see them transform. I want you to take that fragment back into your body. You're going to inhale deeply, taking them into your body. And what you're going to notice now, which is really powerful, is that the part of your body that was holding resistance at the beginning of this exercise is the part that is healed, that is nurtured, that is acknowledged with this healing. Okay, so it's really powerful. And through this understanding, you've really been able to address in a very wholesome way the triggers that have caused fragmentation within you. So now that you are implementing this integration, you're going to begin by working with the root chakra. You're going to open that root chakra back into a balanced state, the sacral back into a balanced state, the solar back into a balanced state, the heart back into a balanced state, the throat back into a balanced state, and the third eye back into a balanced state. You're going to go up to your crown. You're going to send that color up into the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, up to the 13th chakra. I want you to illuminate and activate the higher chakras of your body, activating your DNA, raising your frequency, and creating a new vision for how you're going to be looking at the world. You're not looking at it from here, from victim, pain, suffering. You're looking at it from the highest level of your expression, and that's what we want to come into. So go ahead and activate that. You are grounded. Make sure you ground yourself, because a lot of times when we do this kind of work, we tend to detach. We really tend to come into other planes. So bring yourself back into the present moment. Own this healing in your body. Inhale deeply and exhale. Very good, very good. Welcome back. I want you to open your eyes and come back into the room. Very good. You guys did an amazing job. So I know that this might take a little longer time and you have free time, but this is absolutely incredibly important. And you're going to notice that that cyclical pattern that keeps coming up as you unpack the programs that you have packed in there throughout your childhood and adulthood through traumatic experiences. You're going to find the roots in that, in a lot of fear, a lot of shame, a lot of disconnect from coming into our full expression. And it's something that our parents have battled with, otherwise they wouldn't be here, and their grandparents and so on and so forth. Whatever time in history they faced, they are facing this kind of compartmentalization that we are sharing in this reality that we are all working through to come back to reintegration. So take the time, do the work. Let me know if you have questions. I'm very happy to be here, and I thank you for taking your time and doing the work with me. All my love, have an amazing day, and I will see you tomorrow. Okay? Thank you so much for being here, Susanna, Paula, Jose, Lando, Nishat, so good to see you. Sam, Krista, Emily, good to see you. Manny, Michael, Gigi, David, Anna, Scott, Cherie, hey Cherie, Augustus, so good. Unity, we are all connected. Yes, we are. Thank you so much, Augustus, Bianca, Elena, so good to see you. Kyrie, Juan, hey Juan, Robert, Craig, so good to see you. Augustus, the origin of alpha point of consciousness. That's absolutely right. We are returning back to that oneness. That's what we are. That 0 point is unconditional love. It is infinite consciousness, and that's what you are. There's no question. It's in your whole expression. It's in your DNA. So Iola, so good to see you, Iola. Juan, just meditating, reading about this a few moments ago. Wow, that's great. What a coincidence. Eric Mitchell, so good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. All my love to you. Selene, Tyler, Jerry, so good to see you, Jerry. Susanna, Elena, Veronica, so good to see you guys. Love you guys so much. Have an amazing day, and I will see you soon.